The Judoon are on the hunt for a runaway, and they have narrowed their search down to modern Down Gloucester. The 13th Doctor and her friends decide to step in before anyone can get hurt. But things are far more complex than they seem. A complex web is about to unfold, featuring a surprising new face and a worrying prophecy from an old friends. Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? We are before the Easter weekend, but now it's Thursday and it's time to do a live stream. Yes, sci-fi and fantasy fans, meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, except for politics and religion. That's not entertainment. Random, because we will discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books, and music. Random, because we'll broadcast on non-fixed times, actually on many different times. You need to subscribe to this channel to know what time the broadcast is. Random also, because we have no guests or different guests. It depends who wants to join me in a live stream or panel. If you want to join me in a live stream, feel free to contact me via Discord or YouTube and we will look what is possible. This Discord server, what a surprise, is called Random Entertainment Channel Tag Doctor Who. I bumped the server regularly, so you'll find me quick. You can send me a DM, and yeah, I'd like to meet you. So, again, 11th of May 2024, Episode 1, The Call of the Universe, on 10th or 11th of May. It depends on your time zone. You can see it on BBC One, BBC iPlayer, or Disney Plus. It also depends on where you live and what you use for streaming. And also on this date, episode 2, The Devil's Court. So 2 episodes, yes, for fun and adventure. I'm very curious about these episodes. What do you think? Yeah. Also, the question is, will Jodie Whittaker will return to Doctor Who? Because there are some things that can be directed to that. If the 13th Doctor will be back to some extent in season 1 or season 2 or series 15, 14 or 15, whatever who you count. That's the question. So yeah, that's a very important question. But we will see what will happen. So cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. Your host, Enigmatic Joker. That's me, the I'm Enigmatic Joker. So, we are talking about the Judy Whittaker. She is the 13th Doctor, and we have today a 13th Doctor story called The Fugitive of the Judoon. It's a very special episode, a very interesting episode, by the way, but you will see that in a moment why this is a very important episode, because it makes some add and differences. Yes. So, okay. 13 Doctor Story, Fugitive of the Judoon. How is this live stream built up? First, we do some general info. Then, we will dive into the plot. And before I will talk about the plot, I will give a spoiler alert, because if you haven't seen this adventure, this episode, this story yet, I highly recommend you to watch it first before you continue to listen to this live stream. Yep. After the plot, I will name some cast members. After that, I will do some world building. After that, I do some story notes. And in the end of the live stream, I will talk about continuity context because every story is in some way linked to another story from previous or future episodes. Okay, let's go then to the general info. So, are you ready? I'm ready. So, Fugitive of the Judoon was the fifth episode of series 12 of Doctor Who. It featured the introduction of a new incarnation of the Doctor. That's an important part of this story. It featured the introduction of new incarnation of the Doctor, wrapped in mystery, with her own TARDIS, though neither Doctor can remember living the life of the other. Ooh, no. So, this other Doctor is said to have used a chameleon arch to hide on Earth in her quote unquote Ruth Clayton identity and has a history working for the Time Lords. Ooh, what's that? So she is has a history with for the Time Lords in an undisclosed capacity. As a result of this revelation, Joe Martin makes history by becoming the first non-white actor to be cast in the role of the Doctor, as well as the first to receive credit in this role. This episode also saw the return of Captain Jack Harkness, who last made a televised appearance at the end of Torchwood Series 4 in 2011 with The Bloodline. This also was also his first appearance in televised Doctor Who in just over a decade, last having been seen in 2010's The End of Time. That was the 10th Doctor story with David Tennant in it. Although Jack does not interact with the 13th Doctor in this story, he warns her companions about the lone Cyberman, setting up a story arc that came to fruition in The Haunting of Villa Diodati. True to its title, this story also saw the reintroduction of the Judoon, who were last seen briefly on Doctor Who in 2015's Faced the Raven. So that's the general info. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched or listened to this episode, whatever, please, I recommend you to watch this first before you listen to this live stream. So now we will start with the plot now. There we go. In a flat in 2020 Gloucester, a woman called Ruth Clayton wakes up on her 44th birthday and makes herself breakfast. Her husband, Lee Clayton, goes to collect her cake as she heads to work. Advertising her guided tours of the city, she greets various passersby with a smile and eventually manages to hook on one tourist with a mention of Harry Potter. Sitting down with an elderly acquaintance called Marcia, they both agree that the tourist will not be coming back. Later, Ruth visits a cafe where the barista Alan gives her a coffee and shares his suspicions about Lee. He shows Ruth a dossier of information about Lee's strange activity, but she laughs it off. Meanwhile, in a Eugene spaceship hovering above Earth, platoon captain Paul Condon targets the city. In a Dr. TARDIS, Graham, Jess, and Ryan gather on the steps and discuss the 13 Doctor's distant behavior. When they confront her, she explains she is searching for the spy master, believing he could have escaped after Cassavin took him because of a message he had sent her. Just then, a Dune warning transmission sounds. The doctor gives her companions a brief rundown on Judoon and notes they have put up a zonal enforcement field on Earth so nobody can enter or exit the city. She decides to try and slip the TARDIS through. In Gloucester, Judoon appear and cause mass panic, scanning the public and stamping a red X on their hands. Marcia confronts them and they scan her and translate their speech to English. As Ruth faces up to them as well, the Judoon introduce themselves. Marcia runs away, straight into the enforcement field, and is disintegrated. Judoon explain they are searching for a fugitive in the city. In the coffee shop, Lee enters to receive Ruth's birthday cake, and Ellen presents him with one topped with "you can," with quote unquote, "you can do better." Annoyed, Lee mutters about humans as the TARDIS materializes in the back room. The doctor and her friends explain the situation and Lee runs away before Ellen can lock the shop. As the doctor, Yes, and Ryan leave, Graham stays behind to look at Lee's cake and is teleported away. Outside, Lee meets up with Ruth and tells her they need to go home. Meanwhile, the Judoon arrive at the coffee shop and scan Ellen. However, as they have made a mess of the shop, he shows Paul Condon and is immediately sentenced to execution. Back in Ruth and Lee's flat, Lee begins packing some suitcases and Ruth finds herself very suspicious of his behavior. Eugene get her outside the apartment block, but the doctor faces up to Paul Condon and uses her psychic paper to convince them she is an imperial regulator. She tells them they do not have jurisdiction in the area and temporal isolator they are planning to use on the flats is outlawed. Although Eugene say that the fugitive is highly dangerous, the doctor tells them to stand down, pretending that the Earth laws state, quote unquote, any potential arrestee is entitled to arbitration with a third party, end of quote. As they haggle to get a 5 minutes talking time, the doctor realizes Graham is missing. Graham wakes up on the floor of a very white and light spaceship. A male American voice tells him to not move until the movement sensors are calibrated and that he is looking, quote unquote, looking good. Finishing his preparations, the owner of the voice teleports in, revealing himself to be none other than Captain Jack Harkness. He runs up and snorks at Graham, asking, "How you been, Doctor?" In the apartment, the doctor, Jess, and Ryan meet Ruth and Lee. Lee tells them that he has been part of a case of mistaken identity, but they are not convinced, noting the hurriedly packaged bags. However, the sonic screwdriver scans both Ruth and Lee as completely human. In the spaceship, Jack explains he has stolen the ship and its owners are shooting at them to get it back. As Graham explains, he just travels with the doctor. Jack says he was trying to get to, quote unquote, him, to warn him that the future of the universe is at stake. Finding out the doctor is now female, Jack gets excited, saying, "This I gotta see." Back in the apartment, Jess discovers a box that is not from Earth as Eugene prepare their final warnings. Lee asks for the box despite claiming to never have seen it before and tells the doctor to escape with Ruth out the back while Jess and Ryan make a diversion to prevent the Judoon from attacking him. With the time up, they split up and Ruth promises to meet Lee at the cathedral. Jess and Ryan tell the Judoon they come in if they are peaceful, but the two of them are teleported away. Lee begins texting Ruth and surrenders to the Judoon. Jess and Ryan appear on the spaceship with Graham and Jack, confusing first Ryan, then Jess for the doctor. Jack curses missing her 3 times. In the apartment, a woman called Commander Gat beams in next to Paul Condon. Gat squares up to Lee, revealing that they know each other and she believed him to be dead before trying to track him down. And she found him because of his otherworldly army medal. Despairing of Lee, Kat tells the Judoon to kill him. However, they scan him and realize he is not a fugitive after all. Calling him a faithful companion, Kat disintegrates Lee herself. In Gloucester Cathedral, as the doctor interrogates Ruth, she receives the text from Lee, reading, "Follow the light, break the glass, happy birthday," and sees brief visions of a lighthouse. However, the Udine reappear and surround them. Paul Condon reveals to Ruth that Lee has been killed, that she has decrypted Ruth's biological Judoon and identified her as the fugitive. Acting unnaturally fast, Ruth attacks the Judoon, steals a weapon from them, and threatens Paul Condon before tearing off her horn. Paul Condon yells in pain before Ruth activates their communicator and teleports them away. Back in the spaceship, Jack realizes he was unable to scoop up the doctor due to the Judoon interference as the attacks on the ship intensify. Meanwhile, the doctor realizes the Judoon have evacuated and freed the city, which she views as a bad sign. Although she's convinced both Ruth and Lee were bio-shielded, Ruth is adamant she's not hiding anything. The doctor believes that Lee's text was some kind of activation for the real Ruth, and Ruth recalls the memory of the lighthouse, which was her childhood home and where her parents are buried. The doctor decides they must go there immediately. On the spaceship, the ship's nanogenes begin fighting back against Jack, and he has 1 minute before having to teleport off. He sets his scoop to send the doctor's friends back, but not before giving them a message for her. Promising to see her again, he tells them to beware the lone Cyberman. Don't give it what it wants at all costs, says Jack. And Jack then vanishes, and the trio are returned to Gloucester. In Ruth's car, the doctor quizzes her on her memories. Upon arriving at the lighthouse, Ruth sets up a fire as the doctor looks around. On the viewing platform, the doctor notices Ruth's parents' grave and sonacs it. Finding something strange, she walks down to it and realizes it's not a grave at all. Inside, voices in Ruth's head urge her to break the glass, as Lee said. Finding a fire alarm with strange markings on it, she smashes it and golden energy encompasses her. Outside, the doctor collects a spade and starts digging, eventually hitting something solid. With Ruth recovered, she visibly changes personality, finding a very large alien gun in a nearby basket and changes her outfit. Finally, the doctor uncovers the buried object. It's the roof of the TARDIS! Utterly baffled, the doctor is only made more confused when Ruth arrives and introduced herself as the doctor as well. The doctor can barely speak as quote unquote Ruth explains she's a traveler in space and time and warps them on board her TARDIS. Ruth gets into action to wake the TARDIS up and prepares to stand up to Cat. The doctor introduces herself as the doctor as well, and the pair speculate why neither can remember the other. A scan from the sonic screwdriver revealing that they are definitely the same person. The fugitive doctor explains she used to work for Gat, and the 13th doctor realizes she hid on Earth, using a chameleon arch to disguise herself as a human to escape her. Suddenly, the Judoon ship grabs the TARDIS and drags it on board, and the fugitive doctor orders the 13th Doctor to not get involved. Approaching Get and Judoon on board the ship, the fugitive doctor hands her rifle back to its original owner. Get wants to be finished with the doctor, but Paul Condon insists she must be delivered to their contractee, indicating that someone higher than Get is after her. Although the fugitive doctor urges the 13th Doctor to be quiet, she reveals her identity to Get anyway, and the Judean scan her to confirm it. Get states it is impossible, as they could not return to Gallifrey together, leading the 13th Doctor to realize they must be from her past, as Gallifrey is destroyed in her time. The 13th Doctor makes a psychic contact with Cat to prove it, but she does not believe it and goes to shoot the doctors. However, the gun backfires, disintegrating her, and the doctor, fugitive doctor, reveals she knew that would happen, and the Eugene prepared to arrest her, but she calculates their ship has just entered interstellar space where there are no laws. Returning to her TARDIS, the fugitive doctor warns the Judoon to never come for her again. The fugitive doctor homes in on the 13th Doctor's TARDIS and drops her off at the Gloucester docks. They part ways, knowing that they cannot both be wrong about their pasts. Eventually, 13th Doctor meets back up with her friends who share the news about Jack, baffling the Doctor even further. Baffling, bluffing. Back in her TARDIS, the Doctor listens to Jack's message and explains her history with him and the Cybermen. She also tells them about what she discovered with quote unquote Ruth and figures that with her, the Master, and Jack all appearing, something is centering on her. Ryan tries to reassure her, but she snaps at him, pointing out that he barely knows her. However, her friends band together to say that she's the best person they know and that they are family, which is all that matters. Suddenly, an alarm sounds, alerting the Doctor to major separate events on three continents of Earth. They decide to have a quick look and spring into action. And that, my friends and Wovians, is the end of this story. I will name some cast members. The Doctor, the 13th Doctor, is played by Jodie Whittaker. Graham O'Brien is played by Brady Walsh. Yasmin Khan is played by Mandy Gill. Ryan Sinclair is played by Tassin Cole. Ruth Clayton, alias the Fugitive Doctor, is played by Joe Martin. Captain Jock Harkness is played by John Barrowman. So that's the most important actors of this story. Now we will dive into some world building. There are some things that are familiar. So, location, for instance, Ruth is a tour guide at Gloucester Cathedral. Second thing is that Yasmin notes that the Kasavin trapped the spymaster in their world. Third thing in location is that the Doctor sees and later shows Get a flashback of the destroyed Gallifrey. Fourth thing is that Lee claims to be from Stroud. The fifth thing is that Jack Harkness got the Quantitian scoop from a Vorpal on Ibiza the 13th. And also on location is that Ruth owns a lighthouse, which is in reality is a hideout for her TARDIS and a trigger for her real memories. A Dungeon world building in relation to events. In 1216, Henry III was crowned at Gloucester Cathedral. So some history facts. Also is Harry Potter. Harry Potter was also filmed in the cathedral. That way for the Harry Potter fans. Other thing is that Lee once received an army medal made of chronotelluric alloy. Another thing is Cat cites the benefits limitation effect as an quote-unquote abomination. Another thing, the 13th Doctor remembers the last great time war. So another important fact that The 13th Doctor remembers the last Great Time War. Another thing is that Root Doctor names the temporal feedback loop as an event that happens when two TARDISes get too close to each other. And other thing is that it is Monday and Root celebrates her elite's birthday. Now some world building in relation to TARDIS. So the Doctor matches the TARDIS rotation to the Judoon's zonal enforcement field's refresh rate. Another thing in the TARDIS is that Root's TARDIS has a classic retro design exterior and a modified classic interior. Another thing in relation to organizations, Root wears a schema watch. Another thing is in reading the doctor's psychic paper, Paul Condon assumes she's an imperial regulator. Other thing is that Lee worked at Bedrooms for You. Another thing is Lee and Root have a Greenwich fridge. Another thing is that Jack mentions the Alliance sends something back through time across page. And another last thing in the organizations is that you do state their contract has to hand over the fugitive at the division. Some world bending in relates to food and drink. Ruth makes herself a birthday breakfast of buttered toast and egg and orange juice. Another thing is Ruth buys a coffee from Ellen. Um, Third thing, the coffee shop serves pancakes. Fourth thing is Lee buys a birthday cake from Ellen for Ruth and mentions she usually comes to get a latte. Fifth thing is Graham takes a muffin. And six is that Get likens to Judy's noisiness to using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Then thing also things in relation to will be in relation to jargon, slang, and colloquialisms is that the doctor calls the infiltration quote unquote Judoon platoon near the moon and near that lagoon. Yes calls the latter more of a canal. Another thing is that Jack calls Graham Silver Fox. Fugitive Doctor calls the sonic screwdriver a cute little gizmo. Fourth thing is that 13th Doctor calls her Ruse as an imperial regulator, a quote unquote FIP. And fifth thing is that 13th Doctor hatches a plan she calls the quote unquote curveball and the Judoon. And the Judoon. Curveball and the Judoon. Now some things in relation to individuals. Ruth has a swan friend that she calls Reggie. Second thing is Marcia is an old lady that knits. Third thing is that Alan works at the coffee shop. He has a dossier on Lee Clayton. Fourth thing is the doctor is looking for a spy master. Fifth is the doctor and yes note that the RST is entitled to arbitration. The third party under quote unquote made up local Earth law Rule 12. They get away with it due to Jess being a license officer. Another thing is the doctor flippantly says that Ruth turned into Jackie Chan at the fighting of the Judoon. Another thing is that Jack tells Graham, yes, and Ryan to tell the doctor to beware the lone Cyberman. Another thing is that the 13th Doctor gets offended when the quote unquote fugitive doctor gives her points, claiming it as her thing. Another thing about the Judoon is that the doctor notes that the Judoon use a level 7 enforcement field. Another thing about the Judoon is that Judoon Captain Paul Condon cites Judoon Engagement Article 163b. And another thing is that you do cite subsection 951 when finding out both the doctors are the same fugitive. Another thing about species, the doctor says the Cybermen are just as deadly as the Daleks. Some world building technology, the doctor mentions the master's hologram message to her companions. Another thing is that you do use a zonal enforcement field on the Earth and threaten to use a temporal isolator and temporal blast to capture their targets. Another thing is that you do launch a final warning missile into Lee Root's flat. Another thing is that Jack is using a ship that has movement sensors that can set off laser spikes. It also has shields and anti-theft attack system and nanogenes. Another thing in technology is that Jack uses a quantum scoop for transport Team TARDIS to his stolen ship and back. Another thing in technology is that Lee sends Ruth a text from his mobile phone. Another thing is that Get arrives by matter transmitter. Our thing is that Ruth has biological shielding, which later is revealed to be used of the chameleon arc. Another thing is that Ruth uses a biodata module disguised as a fire alarm to reverse the effect of the chameleon arch. Another thing is that Root has a laser rifle, and last thing in technology is that a tractor beam brings the quote unquote Dr. Stardust to Judoon's ship, a Judoonese stalwart fighter. So now some story notes. So the first note is that John Barrowman had to fake a house renovation in Cardiff to keep it secret that he was filming for Doctor Who. And in fact, in order to keep up the ruse, Barrowman did actually carry out this renovation. And additionally, to preserve the surprise with his return, Barrowman's name and character name were listed as Roy Lester, an anagram of Rose Tyler. You can see that in the Doctor Who magazine 570 supplement. Second story note. Eugene Captain is named Paul Condon as tribute to late Doctor Who fan and friend of Chris Chibnall, Paul Condon. A third story note is that although neither Menzer directed the episode, Jamie Magnus-Stone directed Captain Jack Harkness' scenes. A fourth story note is that the events of this Earth-based story are closely followed by the next episode, Praxeus, which is set, quote, early in the third decade of the 23rd century, end quote. So Ruth celebrates what she believes to be her 44th birthday. Broadcast date of this episode, January 26, 2020. It marks 44 years and 2 days since the January 24, 1976 broadcast of the final episode of TV, The Brain of Morbius. The last episode to explicitly suggest pre-Hartnell incarnations of the Doctor. Another thing is that this story is meant to take place in January 2020. Another note is that this is the first television episode of Doctor Who featuring Jack Harkness since the introduction in TV episode The Anti-Child / The Doctor Dances. That's the story. Not to not be written by Russell T. Davies, RTD. Another note is that this story was one of the first planned for Jodie Whittaker's era of Doctor Who as far back as March 2016. This early version would have included scenes in a Spanish vineyard and a Zumba class. That is also in the Doctor Who magazine 570 supplements. And the last thing is that later the rest of the stories were titled Semper Fidelis, the motto of Exeter, where it was originally set. Ruth would have been a ghost tour guide in her late 50s with a son called Tony, who would be revealed as a future doctor and a member of her warrior squad, respectively. Kat was named Gax, and the Judoon were replaced by a race called the Carrack. We also see that in Doctor Who Magazine 570 supplements. Welcome, Eastland Bergholder. How are you? Okay, that was the last story note. And as usual, we do some continuity context because there are some references or links to past adventures, past episodes. And there are some future episodes who are linked or related to this episode. So, continuity and context. So, the first thing is that the Doctor has been searching for any evidence that the Spy Master may have escaped the realm of the Kassavan. So, linked to TV adventure Spyfall. Second note. Second thing is that the Doctor has visited Gallifrey multiple times alone since first seeing her home in the aftermath of the Master's destruction. Also a link to Spyfall. Third thing is that the Doctor recalls that Gallifrey has been destroyed twice by war. There's a link to Prose, the Ancestor Cell, and TV episode The End of the World, and then by the Master, Spyfall. Fourth thing is that the Doctor notes that the Judoon have no jurisdiction on Earth. There's a link to relation to reference to TV adventure Smith and Jones, Prisoner of the Judoon, and Prose Revenge of the Judoon. Fifth thing is that the Judoon execute a human for a petty act of assault and out compensation. Also a reference to TV Smith and Jones. Sixth thing, the Doctor attempts to rhyme the word Judoon with platoon moon. So link to TV episode Smith and Jones and Lagoon. Seventh thing is that Jack mistakes Graham for the Doctor. We see that in TV episode Spyfall. Prose, the good Doctor. Another thing is that Jack guesses the man he believes to be the Doctor, as he once did with the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, towards the end of their initial travels. We see that in the parting of the ways. Before reuniting with the Tenth Doctor, that's in TV story Utopia, Jack once expressed his intent to first kiss the Doctor and then, quote unquote, kill him, quote. And when they met again, seen it in TV episode Fragments. Another thing is that Ryan refers to Jack as, quote, quite of cheesy, end quote. Mickey Smith also referred to Jack as, quote unquote, cheesy upon first meeting him. See it in TV story Boomtown and later called him, quote, Captain Cheesecake, end quote. See it in TV episode Journey's End. Another thing is that manifesting her true identity, Ruth refers to the Judoon as rhinoforms. She linked to a relation to audio Judoon in chains. Another thing is the Doctor has previously awarded points to her companions. You see that, for example, in the TV episode The Tsuranga Conundrum. Another thing is that Captain Jack is familiar with nanogenes. You see that in The Empty Child. It's a Ninth Doctor story. And Judoon, we see is the monster file Judoon. And the Cybermen, we see that in TV episode Cyberwoman. That is a Torchwood episode. That's a Torchwood story. And also in comic, Supremacy of the Cybermen. And we see in Monster File Cybermen also. So Ruth uses chameleon arts to disguise herself as a human, complete with false memories and rewritten human biology. You see that in the two-part story, Human Nature and the Family of Blood. That's the 10th Doctor story with David Tennant. Also in we see also in Utopia, a link to Utopia, and Audio One Life. Another thing is that the Doctor tells Team and TARDIS that the Cybermen are as dangerous as the Daleks. And they see that in the TV story Resolution. TARDIS notes the Doctor brought them together. We see it in the first 13th Doctor story, the woman who fell to Earth. And we see it in Arachnids in the UK. Also a link to that, relation to that, reference to that. Doctor picks up multiple alerts across 3 continents on Earth. You see that in TV episode Praxeus. And the last thing in the continuity / context is that the Doctor and Team TARDIS later learn that the thing the lone Cyberman wants is the Cyberium, which the Doctor is forced to relinquish. There's a link to TV story The Haunting of Villa Diodati. So, and that, my friends and companions, is the 13th Doctor story, Fugitive of the Judoon, in a nutshell. Yeah. So, what asked me is to say is some commercial, and then I will wish you a very happy Easter. But first, the commercial. The commercials. So, what's this all about? Sci-Fi Fantasy fans meet on the channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, except for religion or politics. That's not entertainment. We want to have fun on this channel, so not politics or and not religion. Um, well, I'm this channel called Random, because we discuss everything involves entertainment, including movies and series, books and music. And a special place on this channel for Doctor Who, and a special place in my heart. And I can highly recommend you to watch Doctor Who every day. I try to watch every day Doctor Who. Yeah. So Random, because we broadcast on non-fixed times, actually many different times. You need to subscribe to this channel to know what the time the broadcast is. It's very important. Random also, because we have no guests or different guests. It depends who wants to join me in the live stream panel. If you want to join me in a live stream, feel free to contact me via Discord or YouTube, and we'll look what is possible. Discord server, what a surprise is called Random Entertainment Channel, Tech Doctor Who. I pump the server regularly, so you find me quick. And you can send me in Discord. Can send me DM, and yeah, nice to meet you. Would like to meet you. And you can also put a comment under this video to contact me. So, and remember, 10 or 11th of May, depends on what time zone you live. Episode 1, The Call of the Universe. Also the same date. Episode 2, The Devil's Court. And you can watch it on BBC One, BBC iPlayer, or Disney Plus. It depends on what for streaming you choose, what for channel you choose. And what I was saying in the beginning of the this live stream, the question: Jodie Whittaker will return to Doctor Who, because there are some clues, there's some things going on, and maybe she will have some to some extent an appearance in season 1 or season 2, or for you it can also be series 14, series 15. That is depends how you count. Whatever, it is your choice, your decision. Or is it season 1 or series 40? Whatever. But what do you think? Will Jodie Whittaker return to Doctor Who? That's very important. So, this was the 13th Doctor story, Fugitive of the Judoon. Cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. Your host, Enigmatic Joker. Last thing I want to say is have a nice, beautiful weekend with your family and friends. I wish you a happy Easter with much fun, and watch Doctor Who together. Choose your own favorite doctor. Choose your own favorite companion. Choose your own favorite era, story, episode, whatever. Enjoy everyday life. Enjoy Doctor Who. And enjoy your franchises, your favorite books, your favorite movie series. And I wish you very good day for the rest of this day. So, see you next time. And for now, bye bye. Doei. Zwaai zwaai.